Oh, thank you for wearing the purple out there. I appreciate that. Thank you. No. And I promise I do not have the game on my iPad yet. Will you join me in our call to worship? Open us to the wisdom of this new day, O God.
So we might live and laugh and love more deeply.
Open us to the transformative power of this day, O God.
So we might tune into the struggles of our sisters and brothers that we share the great earth with, offering compassion and hope.
Call us into the world this day, O God.
So that we might see the faces of the poorest among us and work for justice.
Open us to your presence within this day, O God.
And fill our wounds and struggles with needed peace, healing, and hope, that we might live life in the fullest.
Breathe into our hearts this new day.
That we might be inspired to walk humbly in your way.
May your presence bless us with peace as we journey into this new day.
With all it holds, may we find joy. Amen.
Amen. Why don't we rise up in body or spirit and sing a beautiful song, for this day morning has broken. Please be seated. I was thinking of a hymn to sing today, and we need to remind ourselves that in the midst of the awfulness in life, morning will break. It will come upon us. It will shed its light on us, and we can live another day. So, seemed like a good hymn to start what's been a really tough week off. How are you all doing? Welcome to Faith United Church of Christ. Whether you're online with us at home, whether you're still coming back from your evacuation, we're glad to have you here. And if you're in person, we're delighted that you have chosen to come out with us this morning. If you're in person with us, please sign our friendship book, which we keep on the table in the gathering space so we can keep you apprised of all the happenings that we have going on here. And if you're online, send a note to our office at faithucc.org, and we will get you on that list. And also, as Casey always reminds me, to remind you to subscribe. If you're on YouTube and if you're on Facebook, go ahead and like and share. of our business out of the way. Hey, I got a couple of announcements here today, and do please see our newsletter for a calendar of events and things that will start ramping up again here next week after we kind of shut down on some things last week. One of those is a strategic planning session that will be next Sunday. Had a whole bunch of you stick around last time, so I'm hoping you'll do it again. We'll have lunch here, and we'll get going right after the service. Neil Watkins hopefully will be joining us. I haven't heard a lot from the Florida Conference, so I'm not sure what Neil's schedule is, because there were about 6 or 7, maybe as many as a dozen churches down south, UCC churches, and I haven't even heard if Sanibel's even standing right now. I don't know. So we'll keep you apprised this week if Neil's going to be able to join us. Hopefully he can, but he may be busy doing other things. So we will let you know. We're going to plan on this strategic planning session happening. So if that changes, we'll get the word out quickly. Parable sermon series, we were going to be talking about those, 12 virgins today, but we're not going to be doing that in that interesting parable. I'm not going to let it go. We're just going to postpone it a little bit. I want to talk a little more about the week today instead. So we will pick up our parable sermon series again. I never thought I'd hear an audible groan through the congregation about not covering a parable. That's just crazy. I love it. I would like to invite up Betty Mann, who has some information about our coming financial pledge drive.
Good morning. This morning I've been handing out the 2023 Stewardship Campaign Kickoff Letter, which includes a pledge card for 2023. The ones that cannot be hand-delivered today will be mailed out on Monday. This church is moving forward in a positive way. Neil Watkins, our strategic planning consultant from the Florida Conference, is amazed by the enthusiasm and participation of our members. A large percentage of our membership is engaged in activities throughout the church in addition to attending services. Look at these programs that we have: spiritual study, social justice, a fantastic choir, LGBT Journeys, Life is Life, Annam Cara, and community action with the food pantry and HEP, to mention a few. As you contemplate your pledge for 2023, please consider how you can support us financially to continue to provide this progressive, inclusive, and vibrant church home that we all enjoy so much. Please return your pledge cards by October 31st so we can incorporate it into our budget planning. Thank you for your generosity in supporting our church.
Thank you, Betty. And we're going to have some special announcements coming up too, I think, some testimonials and stewardship testimonials. Yeah, that's exciting. So yeah, do please consider making a pledge if you haven't had a chance in the past. This is your year. 2023 is your year. It helps us to budget for all the things that we want to do next year. So thank you for your consideration on that. There's some concerns I want to lift up, and we're going to talk more about what happened last week in our sermon and have a little time to share. So maybe hang on to those comments. But I want to lift up a few folks today. Tom Miller's niece, Julia. Please hold her in your hearts and prayers. She's going through some struggles in a pretty tough time. So Tom's been supporting her through. You love your nieces. It's just awesome. We've been praying for them all over the place. I love it. So give Julia our best, Tom. When you talk to her, let her know we're thinking about her. And also hold up Tom Stiers. That's Chuck Stiers' brother, and hold Chuck and Pam as well. Tom is in his probably final weeks, months of life, end of life care. So Chuck's been able to spend some time with them. Chuck's probably online with us right now, or Pam. So just hold them in your hearts and prayers, and Tom and his family in a difficult time. Also hold Mama Liz in your hearts and prayers. Mama Liz is in Meese, Dunedin right now. She went in on Friday night with some pains, and she's having some tests run. She is feeling better, and hopefully will be going home, if not today, tomorrow. So hold Mama Liz in your hearts and prayers. And Marge Brown. Marge Brown is not here today because she fell and is really bruised up. I mean, she really did a number. She hit her spine, and she's no broken bones or anything. I know, Marge, you're online with us, and but she's going to need some rest and recovery for quite a while, and she's pretty bruised up. So, Marge, we are thinking of you and Eddie this day. If you need anything, you're always there for everybody. You reach out to us so we can be there for you in this time, thinking about you. And then hold up, many of you know, a few of you might know Becky Robbins Perryman. She was a pastor locally here at Good Episcopal Church of the Good Shepherd until last year, really active in the community. And she retired last year, and she moved down to Bonita Springs to begin her husband Gus's retirement and enjoy life. She sent a picture out on Facebook of the devastation on their first floor condo. And she said, everything plus. And I didn't get what that meant until I looked at the picture. Picture there's no walls. Every piece of furniture, refrigerator, everything's gone. The only thing in there is the plumbing, the pipes. So when she says everything plus, that's what it was. She put another post out yesterday saying they estimate that their condo took an 18-foot high direct surge that they said probably had the power of 1 million freight trains. So thank God they evacuated and they got out of there because they're okay. She's able to stay with her dad, but where do they go from here? You know, and she's one of just so many down there that we're going to hear about that have absolutely nothing left. So hold Becky in your hearts and prayers and all of the people. Again, we'll talk more about that in a bit. But hold them, everybody down south in your hearts and prayers this day. Any other concerns anyone would like to lift up? Joanne's got a microphone here. Like to lift up any concerns? Come on, Kat.
Hello. I wanted to lift up my sister-in-law and my 4-year-old nephew. They were stung by a swarm of yellow jackets. And they're recovering well, but as you know, 4-year-olds don't particularly like being stung a lot. So yeah, just keep them in your prayers.
Absolutely. That is awful. It really is. I got stung by a couple wasps a few weeks ago, and it was like 3 weeks I'm itching my elbow. It was crazy. And I won't even tell you then that the genocidal wasp rant I went on after that. I'm not going to share that with you because that would not be good. But let's just say that neighborhood is free of wasps. Oh my gosh, the things. I'm just kidding. I'm really kidding. But that's terrible. That's tragic. I'm so sorry to hear that. Hope they're going to be okay. Any other concerns like to lift up this day?
The mic's not working here, Mike.
Oh, this mic's not.
Try to unmute it. That's what that sound was.
Oh, okay.
So they'll hear you online, but they won't hear you in here because otherwise we're just going to have a bunch of static.
Go ahead, Dan. Just shout.
I want to let you all know that in our work with HEP, we're really pleased with what's happened. And I've given them a list of people who in the past have shown some interest, as well as present. They should be sending you a form. It'll come to you in the form of an email. And it'll show weekly openings they have. They're doing a really good job of covering out what we do that kind of blank sheet out there right now. But on the whole, we really have an opportunity that this church hasn't had in a very long time. We've cut it down from 3.5 hours down to 2 hours. Now that's going to help everybody a great deal. With that being said, we have come out kind of winners on this. HEP has come out a winner, but maybe not quite as much. When you see those openings, if you're allowed, if you are in a position to volunteer, please do. HEP really needs that help. They're down about 40% in volunteers right now. So we need to jump in here and help them. And this is the type of church that loves a challenge.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, and if you have any questions on Starving to Help, Dan is the man, literally. Dan is the man, literally, to talk to. Any other concerns or joys or any announcements? Let's just do some joys. We need some joy. Someone just please share a joy. Okay, we got a joy. God, we need a joy. Come on.
Good morning.
Good morning, Nat.
It was a concern in the beginning, but it's a joy now. My best friend, that was for the last 50-some years now, Christina, my best friend for the past 39 years, their youngest daughter and son-in-law had a condo, have 2 condos right down the main street of Fort Myers, okay? So needless to say, the second floor condo is fine. First floor condo, pretty much underwater. But the joy that I want to bring out and it just filled my, because I talked to her the other day, is that her emotional and spiritual commitment was phenomenal. You know, so I guess when I look at people at Faith UCC with that type of commitment, and I see it outside, and they're not church-going people, but the fact that they understand that they need to stay steady with faith and with spiritual and with emotion, it did my heart good. Thank you.
That's joy. Thank you, Nat. Other joys you want to share this day? Yeah. Hey, welcome back, Linda.
Thank you. So, we just rolled in yesterday from 3 months away in New Jersey and Vermont, where both my kids live and my grandsons. And, we're
So
just so
happy to be back. And I couldn't miss coming today because I've been watching online, but I was really psyched to be here. But a few great things happened while I was away. I sing in a chorus in New Jersey. There's 90 women in it. It's Sweet Adelines. And so 3 years ago, we came in first in our region, our 4th time. And we went to our international in Phoenix just a couple of weeks ago. So we've been waiting 2.5 years to get to this international, and it's our 6th one. We've never gotten in the top 10, but we actually placed 10th this time.
just to understand, there's,
500 choruses in the world, all over the world, and only 28 make it to international. So we actually got there and we placed 10th, so we're 10th in the world. Yeah, for anybody who's into Sweet Adelines, but you know. But anyway, I'm just so happy to be back, to see all of your faces, and to get back into volunteering and doing what all of us do here. So thank you.
Yeah, when you coming up to the choir here? Brian, you better sign her up. Welcome back. Glad that we missed you, and glad you're back. And thank you for wearing that purple today. That's fantastic. Way to show your support for the Minnesota Vikings. I love it. I'll check it in a second here. Other ones? Yeah, go ahead, Carol.
well, with a joy concern, I have spent my birthday on Thursday in Pensacola.
Happy birthday to you, even though it didn't turn out to be the best way to spend it. And Tom as well had a birthday this week, so happy birthday to the two of you. And glad you guys got back safe. I know you were heading on out of town, so quickly. But any other joys I want to lift up this day? Concerns? All right. Well, you know what we need to do? We need to just have a moment of centering. Let's just close our eyes for a second, my friends. Take a few centering breaths. When times get so stressful, we can go into our breath and remember that God is closer to us than even our own breath, intimate part of us. Breathe in a sense of peace. I'm trying to let go of some of that anxiety, and God knows this week we were carrying a lot of anxiety and worry. And let's lift up our friends to the south in our prayers in this time, and then really all over Florida and up the dang East Coast. Hold our churches, our UCC churches, some of which we don't know their status right now. Places of worship and communities, and just the people hit so hard. Let's lift them in our hearts and prayers. Peace be with all who are suffering this day. I found a little Work of the People video that seemed kind of fitting for today, so I'm going to share that now as we journey ever deeper into this time of worship together. That was really beautiful, thank you. Words. I'm going to read our scripture passage, it's very brief. It's one that I've been thinking a lot about. It's from Psalm 137. Really just verse 1 is all we need. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, and there we wept when we remembered Zion. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down, and there we wept when we remembered Zion. So I wrote in a letter I sent out on Friday, maybe some of you saw, that it is in times like these that it's really hard to find the words, to describe what I and what so many of you as well are feeling as you begin the work of processing this past week's events surrounding Hurricane Ian. I hate to even say the name. Jeez. I thought by Saturday I'd have more to say and maybe the energy to sit down and even write a sermon, but yesterday came and went, and I couldn't find the words, Parables just didn't really seem to matter to me yesterday. A lot of things didn't really seem to matter to me yesterday. So I think I was still in shock, and I think I can say along with so many of you that you are still there as well, right? Still in shock at the whirlwind of a week that just was, my God. Now, we were obviously spared thanks to a northern trough of air that came a little further south, a little bit faster than our meteorologists had predicted. But as we know, one area's fortune is another area's misfortune. Said that very sentence to me this morning here. And that area ended up being 75 to 100 miles, just 75 to 100 miles south of us. And so our hearts and prayers go out to them in this time of utter devastation, knowing full well what could have been that could have been us. That could have been us. And I'm sorry for those folks that say God answered my prayers on this. No. Play that out to its logical conclusion. When you hear people say that, remind them that, well, then, what about the people down south? Do they not pray hard enough either? Someday there's going to be a sermon soon on that, because in our insurance policy, it still says acts of God. What day and age are we living in? Acts of God. And so God brought a devastating, basically Category 5 hurricane and destroyed people's lives. And we didn't get it because we prayed harder. I heard a lot of people up here this week, a lot of you, say you feel guilty. Like a survivor's guilt kind of thing, right? I have a feeling that we even have feelings of relief when so many lost everything, like Becky, down south in a storm that was supposed to again hit us. Lived all week with that thought. I've also felt that guilt as well. And as I wrote on Friday, I also feel guilty for my emotional reaction to the loss of such cherished places, that hold so many wonderful memories. I know you all have them probably of that area down there. About time spent on really what was heaven on earth. Sanibel and Captiva, come on. It was heaven on earth. So I think of all my memories with family and friends, from Captiva and the Mucky Duck. Is it even still there? I see some of you smiling. You've been to the Mucky Duck. To Sanibel Island, picking shells in one of the most amazing seashell collecting areas there is in the world. And it could be gone. But what I've come to realize this week is that we have all, even though we're up here, we've all lost something. We've all lost something, obviously in varying degrees, but we've all lost something really close to us, and it is nothing short of shocking and heartbreaking, and it will take time to grieve our way through this loss. And I think that's why I just don't have the words yet, Maybe in time, but the more and more images that I'm starting to see from down south that we're going to see this week, the longer I think time is away. So today is just a time to grieve. That's really what today is. It's It's a time to offer up some support to one another. And even though we didn't take that direct hit, let's admit that last week was nothing short of terrifying. I remember talking to my friend on the phone last Monday when the storm was still taking dead aim, coming to Tampa. That's all we heard from the weather terrorists on the Weather Channel. And then Jim Cantori showed up. God's sakes, in our backyard. Turn on the TV, I'm like, wait, is he at Clearwater Beach? Who's seen that commercial where he comes and the guy sees him and he just shoves all the bread into his cart because he knows what's coming? Jim Cantori shows up. He goes up to the beach with his beach ball and he sees them and they just flee. So I was talking to my friend when we were still in the middle of this. It was like I told him we're living in like this suspended hell, of not knowing whether we're going to lose nothing or whether we're going to lose everything. Everything. And for those who think it was all just way too much work, I've heard that. Well, just take a look at what Sanibel Island or Captiva or Fort Myers looks like right now. I wrote that a week ago when we left here, this church, that I was rather uncertain whether we'd come back here to this church as it is now. Because not having a church, if that would hit us, would have been a real possibility. And if you don't believe me, well, there are UCC churches down there right now, as I was saying earlier, that we honestly don't even know if they're still standing. We don't know. Naples is 2 blocks from the beach. Gorgeous church. Sanibel, UCC, right on the beach. Fort Myers has 2 UCC churches at least, very close to the beach. So that was a very real possibility. So it's a time, my God, to be thankful, yes, grateful. We need to do that, but it's also just a time to grieve and hold space for the shock that we're all enduring.
We got the mic working.
Okay, thanks, Casey.
She's got it next to you.
All right. Psalm 137 came to mind quickly the other day as the images of destruction began to come in. Those words, by the river of Babylon, there we sat down and wept, and we remembered Zion. The psalm came from a time of exile of the Israelites when their land was destroyed, and it was sacked not by a weather system, but by the Babylonians, who killed so many and exiled so many others, taking them from their lands, enslaving them in foreign lands. So this psalm it's a psalm of lament written by someone going through a real time of hell and devastation. I'm thinking about folks just down south of us right now, right this very moment, sitting down, weeping as they remember what once was just a few short days ago before they had their land stolen and taken from them, and they lost everything that they had, their businesses, their homes, their jobs. It's eerily strange how real these psalms can be at times, isn't it? Eerily strange how they can come alive for us. And this one is so alive, it's just jarring. Because you could just change those words. By the Gulf waters, there we sat down and wept. And we remembered Sanibel, Captiva, Fort Myers, Port Charlotte, Cape Coral, and others. You said it right. How are you feeling? How are you all feeling? You want to share? Anybody want to share anything? A bit about how you're feeling? Don't have to. Sad? Yeah? A lot of sadness. Conflicted. Absolutely. Yeah, conflicted that we're the survivors and others lost everything. Yeah, any others? Grateful. Grateful? Yeah. Grateful. Gratitude, absolutely.
I want to do something.
You want to do something? Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
I want this church to do something.
And that's what we need to sort out. I'm waiting to hear from the Florida Conference on what's going on, and how we can help. I know right now they're saying don't even try and come down there. I mean, I-75 was closed yesterday, and so we'll figure something out. Giving financially is always an option, but we want to do more. It feels surreal. It does. It does. It doesn't feel real. Like, did we really just live through this? Are we living through this? Are people living through this? Yeah. Any others? How are you feeling? Yeah, in the back there.
Humble.
Humbled?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Helpless.
Helpless.
I work for a company, we're like the largest employer in the county, and we have hundreds of employees that have been devastated, and it's just, you know, we've been kind of riding it out. We've got a lot of different things going on, but our offices just opened today at 10 o'clock.
Good.
All our employees to come in and have basic necessities and such, but it's not like we just want to do more, right?
Yeah.
You have this feeling like you just want to do so much more.
Yeah.
And it just connecting people with people, like, even if you can't do something, like yesterday I went on, and I was just calling people that I know people that can drive to somebody's house and give them food and water, you know, even if you don't feel like you can do something, if you know somebody in the area who's in, the proximity wise, who can help someone.
Yeah.
You just never know how you can help, you know?
Yeah.
You wonder if they have a local food bank.
Yeah, those are the kind of things we need to start sorting out. I know Tarpon Springs Band is collecting things and has a way to get the truck things down. So that's always an option. You can drop off at the high school as well.
World
And-
Central Kitchen is already set up.
World Central Kitchen's already there. Chef Andre Jose was probably on his way if he's not already there. He's there.
I think uncertainty too, the feeling of uncertainty.
Yeah.
The season is not over, this is the first part of hurricane and last, but it's so we need November, so I think uncertainty.
Yeah.
I think about the
Yeah.
animals that have just been displaced.
Animals.
They're people.
Yeah, it's not just people. It's yeah, animals. And Elizabeth.
Yeah, I live in the cone of uncertainty since I'm Elizabeth Cone. What I remember when I thought about was when you wrote and said you would have the church open, it
Yeah.
took me back to Irma. And remember, we opened up for a cooling center because
We
we were
did.
untouched.
Yeah.
I lived at Pinecrest at the time. Howard was up all around us, but the church had power. and
Yeah.
We had a cooling and charging station.
Yep. And we would have been ready to do it again. Absolutely. Hopefully we never have to do that again. Yeah. Yeah, Jen.
Yesterday, I was coming back from Atlanta, and I was driving down on 75 from Florida, and pretty much, probably 50% of the vehicles on that road, you could tell, were heading towards that area for one reason or another. There were whole convoys still of bucket trucks. There were the Surf Pro, vans, this whole line of them all going down, and every other pickup truck I saw had a pallet of water in the back and gas cans and generators, strapped to the back. It was, it was really.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, Debbie.
I don't know if anybody else is doing this, and it's just become a really bad habit, but since the hurricane and seeing the water rise on different videos on Fort Myers Beach, I keep picturing our town, and I'll see a place, what would that look like, with 15 feet of water, and I can't stop doing it.
The what ifs. The what ifs.
would no longer exist if that had hit us.
Yeah. Someone asked me, was Casey, said, would this church survive a Category 5? And my answer was no, it wouldn't, because I have a feeling that this roof would be the first thing to go. And after that, it's all over. I mean, it's, yeah.
It's vulnerable.
It's vulnerable.
Vulnerability, and I think that's what we're all expressing.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, Nat.
I have one more joy that I just thought of. Heard this on the news. I don't know if it was a man or a woman, but somebody took their generator and drove it to wherever it was in the area that was one of the hardest hits, and set that generator up and told people, bring your coffee pots, bring your cell phones, so at least you can have some comforts of a normal life for as long as the gas would hold out. That is a person, and I know it made the news, so maybe there's a little ego involved, but the fact that this person actually did that for these people is phenomenal.
Thanks, Nat. Thank you. Joanne.
Right, I had a few, people from here at church offering me a place to stay and, how I was doing because they knew I was alone and nervous. But
Yeah.
everything worked out, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm feeling thankful.
Thankful. Whole range of emotions in here. It's amazing. I'm sure you have all of those going through you at the same time. Conflicted, guilty, grateful. The what if game is terrible that we play. And just the lament. I know we have a lot of grieving to do, a lot of shock to absorb, and a whole lot of sadness to let subside. But as I wrote on Friday, we gotta have hope as well. Don't dismiss that word. Don't dismiss that word as some utopian kind of thing or some trite expression. Don't do that, for it is hope that will see us through such an awful time. Along with the devastation that we are seeing in videos and pictures, we're also seeing hope alive, right? We just heard some stories of it. We're seeing hope alive in courage and love and compassion as people help one another through the horrors that are unfolding around them. And there's such hope in that it is in these times that the call to love your neighbor shines the brightest, as people saw it in that picture. They literally carry one another through the waters to safety. They're serving meals, World Central Kitchen to the hungry. They're opening their homes to those that are now left homeless, or as people donate money to help the relief and recovery effort, or as they work in shelters and they give their time to help others that are just so wounded. There's just so much hope out there. We can't lose sight of that. And there's hope also just in the human spirit to persevere. It's what we do, right? It's what we do. Even in the worst of times, we rebuild, we strengthen, and we dare to dream again a new future. And they will do that down there. They will do that down there. It'll take time, but they'll get there. We have to trust that. We got to keep the hope. We need to do it for them. And we also need to do it for us, because there's healing in hope. There is healing in hope, and we need a whole lot of it. That gives me hope. There's a future. I also find hope in what we celebrate today. I even mentioned World Communion Sunday. Welcome to World Communion Sunday, everyone. It's a special day that we set aside in many churches to engage in communion, mindful of our divisions, yet even more mindful of what we share in common. In that case, the Spirit of Christ that is among us. Now, World Communion, really fast, was born in 1933 when a Pennsylvania Presbyterian minister, Pastor Kerr, he took stock of the world around him. He looked and he saw all of this pain and chaos and division, and he thought, we need to do something to bring us closer together. And so he settled on something that most Christian churches share, which is communion. The idea has now spread to communities all over the world, and so from right here in Dunedin, Florida, to Dunedin in New Zealand. Do you know there's a Dunedin, New Zealand? You probably have, because you've probably gone to MapQuest, or went MapQuest. I don't even think anymore, MapQuest. Yeah, I hopped, Dunedin, and you ended up with directions to New Zealand. Like, how did that happen? How am I going to drive to New Zealand?
No route found.
But I'll tell you, this year, this celebration this year that we're going to do in just a little bit, it just feels to me a little more necessary this year. A little more important because of what happened this week. Now, I'd like to imagine, as I think of our sister UCC churches down there, several of them that are likely devastated. and all the other churches and places of worship down south that are in shambles, I imagine their spirit of togetherness in trusting that yes, church is important, the church is important, but the church building is not the church. Amen. The church is the people. It's the people. So I dare to imagine them gathering today, doing what it is that we human beings do, persevering, especially when it comes to our rituals. And I imagine communion happening in small gatherings on this World Communion Sunday amidst the backdrop of the reality of all the chaos that just happened. And I imagine people using the elements that they can find in shelters or homes that they're staying in or damaged churches and being together, coming together, because that's what they're doing down there, to share in communion, a source of sustenance and energy in a really hard time. That's what I imagine they're doing down there right now, this very moment. That's what World Communion Sunday is. In just a bit, we'll come forward, and I find so much hope in the communion here in this place that is in solidarity with those who are wounded to the south of us. In this act today, we say, when we come to this table, we are in Christ, in which we find our foundation of the spirit of hope. So through this simple act today, we symbolically join with you at the table, and to join with you at the table means to share in your suffering and to offer your support. So World Communion just means something a little bit different this year, and to participate in it seems like more of an act of solidarity than it ever has before. So as we come to this table in just a bit here, let us come in hope, in solidarity and love for our neighbors to the south. And even more so, let us do so as a symbolic act that when they sit down to weep, when they sit down to remember, like the psalmist long ago, that we will sit with them, and we will weep with them, and we will remember with them. That's what today is about. Friends, I wish you a deep sense of peace amidst the feelings that you are having in these times. My door is always open should you just want to talk. My phone is always on. Should you just want a listening presence? I know many of you are just exhausted. I've heard from you that you're just exhausted. So just know you're in my prayers, and there's always a presence here for you. And please remember, in the words of the great Frederick Buechner, you've heard me say this 1,000,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000,000 more. Here is the world. Here's the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Don't be afraid. Here's the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Don't be afraid. Peace be with you and all that you're going through. And I'll see you at the table in just a bit. Amen.
One
Oh, as we prepare to come together to celebrate World Communion, as I just want to say every time we celebrate communion here, all are welcome. All are welcome at this table. That's the way communion should be. Should never be closed off to anyone. This table, all are welcome. And at home as well, you are welcome to join us. Go get your favorite elements, your coffee and your bagels. Did I say it right? Bagels?
Yes, that's right.
Bagels. Go through this again. Get your coffee and your donuts and join us in World Communion today. We're happy to have you. Our table is wide and extends well beyond this place to our online community as well, and especially today down south. So all are welcome. Some simple instructions. Please just come up the center aisle. We have 4 breads to choose from today. We have a dill bread, we have challah, we have tortillas, and a gluten-free cornbread in the center there that is gluten-free. So you get a whole selection today, a feast, so please take a couple, because this is a meal, you know? This is a meal. We want to share together. The table is wide. And I open us with a little beautiful litany written by Jan Richardson. She writes some of the best stuff, and this is her litany called Table Blessing. I hope you'll join me. To your table you bid us, Great Spirit, come to the global feast. You have set the places, you have poured the wine, and there's always room, you say, for one more.
And so we come to the table, from the streets and from the alleys, from our homes and places of work, we come to the table.
From the deserts and from the hills, we come to the table.
From ravages of poverty and from the palaces of privilege, we come forward.
Running, limping, carried, we come to the table.
We are bloody with our wars, we are weary with our wounds, we carry our dead within us, and we reckon with their ghosts.
We hold the seeds of healing. We dream of a new creation. We know the things that make for peace, and we struggle to give them wings.
And yet, to your table we come, Great Spirit, hungering for your bread, thirsting for your wine, singing your song in every language, speaking your name in every tongue, in conflict and in union.
In discord and in desire, we come, O God of wisdom. We come to your table and to your feast. What a beautiful, global, hopeful feast it is. Today, as we join with thousands of others, congregations for World Communion, let us do so remembering how Jesus ate with his friends so often, how they would eat and talk, often asking questions and wondering about God, this great mystery named God, and how in the last night together, after their conversation at the table, well, Jesus took bread and he blessed it and he broke it and he shared it with his friends, saying, "Take, eat, this is my body, which is given for you. Do this remembering me." And likewise, Jesus took a cup of wine, good wine, and he gave thanks, and he passed it to his disciples, saying,
Drink this, all of you.
"This is the cup of the new covenant of love. Whenever you drink of this cup, do so remembering me." I wonder if you'll join me in a little deeper moment of centering and prayer. Yeah. Heck yeah. The table is wide, you remind us always, O God. The table is as wide as it needs to be, to receive always one more weary traveler to join in the feast. So we gather together symbolically around the table, Holy One, a cosmic circle of friendship, compassion, and sharing. We do so hoping that through this meal, our eyes will be open to the presence of the Spirit of Christ in our midst, in one another, and always in ourselves as bearers of that light. And through the grains that compose this bread and these grapes of the vine, may we find sustenance and peace and the courage to tackle all that comes at us in life. May we be inspired in our eating and drinking here today so that we can manifest the hope latent in this meal and the world around us and through acts of love and life. So for this shared meal together on this World Communion Sunday, we give thanks. And as we make this prayer today, oh God, we do so reeling from the events of the past week. As we watch helplessly as so many suffer, and so we lift those who are picking up the pieces, literally, of their lives from recent storms, from Puerto Rico to Canada, southern and interior Florida, the East Coast, and for the suffering, for the shocked, for those who have lost so much, for the grieving, and hope for them and us, we make this prayer today. May arms of compassion and generosity reach out to all who are suffering in the times ahead. And for our own suffering here in this community, those that we hold in our heart who are suffering from falls or hospitalizations, bee stings, depression, struggles and tough times, all those that we hold in the silence of our hearts. We lift them this day. We pray for the balm of whatever it is that they need. Find them and soothe them today. I wonder if you'll join me in a beautiful interpretation of the Lord's Prayer. The words are on the screen here. Loving Creator, we honor you. We honor all that you have made. Renew the whole world in the image of your love. Give us what we need for today, and a hunger to see the whole world fed with peace. Strengthen us for what lies ahead. Heal us from the hurts of the past. Give us courage to follow your call in this moment. For your love is the only power, the only home, the only honor we need in this world and in the world to come. Amen. I forgot to say, before we sing the beautiful song that we need to hear in this time and we need to sing together, if you are unable to come forward or just not comfortable coming forward, Joanne will come to you. We will find you and serve you right where you are. Well, why don't we rise up and bow to your spirit and let's sing this beautiful servant song. Won't you let me be your servant? Let me be as Christ to you. And then towards the end of the service, please come forward, for the feast is ready for you. I wonder if you'll join me in this prayer of thanksgiving. You have met us at the table, living Christ, to unite us with you and with brothers and sisters around the world. Go with us now into that world.
That we might be a living sign of welcome among refugees,
Of freedom among the oppressed, of comfort among the hurting, of hope amid persecution, of peace amid violence, and of loving kindness toward the earth and all her inhabitants. We pray in the name of the cosmic Christ. Amen. Amen. Oh, hey, I just want to say thanks for coming out today and joining in for what I think was a really moving service. And again, just a reminder that my door's always open. If you need some support, you want to talk, reach out to one another, to me, to anybody, just to make sure that we talk our way through this and find the support that we need in this time. But I also want to say thank you for your incredible generosity. It knows no bounds, whether you're financial giving to support this church or in your time. So many of you doing so many things here. It's one of the things Neil Watkins is blown away. He's like, you guys have more things going on in this small church than these big old churches have going on. And he's like, you guys need to slow it down a bit. So no, we're not going to do that. We're going to keep on going. So thank you for your incredible generosity in all of your giving. If you are visiting and you're like, hey, I want to make a love offering today, we do have plates on the back. And you can also go to our website at faithucc.org, and there's links there. You can also, if you want to share or to make a donation to the relief effort, the United Church of Christ is collecting, the Disaster Ministries is collecting money that will directly go right to the impacted areas through the UCC. And Betty added a link on our Vanco, I think, that just says disaster relief, so you can go to our website. If you want to write a check, you can do that. Just make sure, however you give, you note that it's for disaster relief so we can get that money to them. I know some of you have already asked me about that. So if you want any more instructions or information on that, talk to me after the service. I'll be happy to share that. So let's hold our sisters and brothers to the south in our hearts and prayers this week. And I wish you nothing but peace, and more peace in the coming weeks as we start to see the images come forth of, and for all of you that have family, friends down there, just holding you in a real spirit of prayer in this time. So let's dedicate our song to those down south, all those impacted by storms, wherever they may be. Let's sing this for them today and spread a little hope into the world. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with us.